it could be as many as five killed in this shooting, including the young person who's believed to be the perpetrator, who was found dead by police when they arrived. By the time police arrived, the shooting was apparently over, and they found a dead young person who is believed to be the perpetrator.
I want to talk a bit about America and Donald Trump in a moment, and in particular, among one or two other things, his relationship with the media, which is in some ways deteriorating. I mean, in some cases, it doesn't need a lot of deteriorating, but it just seems to be. But in the last few minutes, there's some breaking news of a shooting at a school in Wisconsin. Now, here is the Madison Police Chief, Sean Barnes.
Our officers were responding to a call of an active shooter at the Abundant Life Christian School here in Madison. When officers arrived, they found multiple victims suffering from gunshot wounds. Officers located a juvenile who they believe was responsible for this deceased in the building. What we know is that a total of about 7 persons were transported from this scene to area hospitals for treatment.
That's another all too familiar story. David Charter, the US assistant editor of The Times, is on the line. Hello to you, David.
Hello, John, from Washington, D.C.
David, can you tell us more?
So, slightly conflicting information. The police have confirmed 3 people have been killed. That, I believe, includes the suspected shooter, who's a juvenile, as you heard from the police chief, and 2 students at the school. Some conflicting reports locally that there are actually 5 people who are dead. So we don't know precisely at the moment. Still, obviously, some people being treated in hospital as well. As the police chief said, up to 7 went to hospital.
And a juvenile thought to have been responsible for this awful incident. And the victims, David, I mean, we're talking about children here. Do we know more?
I believe the first 2 who are confirmed killed are believed to be students at the school. As I say, I don't know about the updates I'm seeing from police, claiming to be from police sources, but we haven't heard the audio, that it could be as many as 5 killed in this shooting, including the young person who's believed to be the perpetrator, who was found dead by police when they arrived. By the time police arrived, the shooting was apparently over, and they found a dead young person who is believed to be the perpetrator. The only other thing we know at the moment is that the first calls came through at 11 in the morning in Madison, Wisconsin, which is the capital of Wisconsin, of course, and reports that police in Madison had only recently been holding a training session on school shootings to prepare for an incident like this. Although, as I say, the reports are that the shooting was over by the time they arrived, and the shooter, apparently from self-inflicted, is dead.
Okay, we'll have more on that story as it comes in. Originally, I was keen to get you on, David, to talk about the relationship between Donald Trump and the media, which hasn't always been smooth.
Okay, question? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. She's shocked that I picked her.
No.
She's like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. How many cases were in the United States when I did my ban? How many people had died in the United States?
So do you acknowledge that you didn't think
Keep your
it was
voice down,
going to
please.
spread?
Keep your voice. You know you're a fake. You know that. Your whole network, the way you cover it, is fake. And most of you, and not all of you, but the people are wise to you. That's why you have a lower approval rating than you've ever had before, times probably 3.
Well, so that's Donald Trump and sections of the media. Sounds like it was during the COVID crisis. Now it is suggested in parts of the media that Donald Trump is coming into office and preparing, well, a small flurry of defamation lawsuits and other action against parts of the media that crosses him and his team, including his picks for senior cabinet jobs. David, tell me, what are you making of all of this? Is there a clear pattern emerging?
Yeah, well, just as Trump is coming back into office, he says much better prepared to hit the ground running in all sorts of ways, not least appointing people that he actually knows and trusts to be in his cabinet and to be in the senior positions. So he wants to pursue more rigorously the media that he thinks are not just being unfair to him, but being fraudulent and perhaps breaking laws, perhaps to the extent that he can ask the appropriate bodies, which he will place his own people in charge of, to come after and the broadcasting license, perhaps, of the media. And the evidence of this happening and of the media response has been seen recently with a settlement in a case by ABC News, where the interviewer referred to the case against E. Jean Carroll, that Trump lost the defamation case for and was found liable for sexual assault by the jury. But in the program, they talked about Trump being found liable for rape, which is what the judge said would be the common understanding is, but was actually he was cleared of being liable for rape by the jury. So it was a bit of a mixed message from the courtroom. And Trump has won this was going to be disputed in a court case this week, but before it, ABC News has settled and paid $15 million to Trump charities, Trump organizations. And it's been widely seen by critics of Trump and Democrats as caving into him because ABC News doesn't want to get into a big fight with Trump just as he's coming in quite a powerful position with control, obviously, of the House and the Senate and ultimately his people on the Supreme Court. So he's seen as very powerfully placed to go after the media. And actually, he had a press conference today at Mar-a-Lago where he said his next move was going to be to come after the pollster in Iowa. I don't know if you recall this, but about a week before the election, there was this really surprising poll that he was way behind. Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa, which is a red state, and it was jaw-dropping at the time. Trump says it was election interference, trying to put off his voters in Iowa so it would swing it to the Democrats. So he says a case is going to be brought in the next few days against that pollster and potentially the Des Moines Register, the paper in Iowa that ran the story. And of course, he's got several other battles underway. He's got a battle with Bob Woodward, who he says didn't quote him properly and then released the tapes of them talking of his interview with him for his latest book. And he said that that broke their agreement. So he's got a case against Bob Woodward. He's got a case against the Pulitzer organization because the awards given to journalists like from the New York Times and the Washington Post for what Trump calls a Russia hoax, which is, of course, in the end, the Mueller inquiry was not able to prove any collusion between Trump's campaign and Russia, which was a very big story in the first year of the last Trump administration. And a number of awards were given to reporting on that he says were given for fake news. And he's brought a civil lawsuit against the Pulitzer organization for damages to him and to retract the prizes.
I mean, I think the short answer is yes, he is going after the media with everything that he's got in the hope of damping down and scotching critical comment. It's as simple as that.
He's had a long campaign, as you know, against what he calls fake news. This has become a touchstone of the MAGA, and I mean by that the Make America Great Again movement that he's created. That's really obviously taken over the Republican Party, really. And this is an article of faith that the mainstream media is not just unreliable, it's aggressively hostile and fake in Trump's terms, and he's going to try and bring them to task for that.
Yeah, but the threat to remove broadcasting licenses from networks that don't report him sufficiently favourable, surely that's just talk. That will not happen, will it?
Well, you never know, because there's actually another case against CBS News, and this is for an interview they did with Kamala Harris in the election, where they clearly edited out one of her famously long rambling answers and putting a very short, pithy one that was much more to the point.
Okay.
Asked a question about Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, and Trump again says that was a deliberate election interference to make her look better, and that's the kind of thing that you can contest a broadcaster's license for, because there are election rules for the big networks that to provide a duty to provide balance, and Trump says that's unbalanced.
It's a remarkable story. Adam, what are you thinking?
Well, what I'm thinking is this is yet another example of rich people or people with resources using the legal system to bully other people. It's, of course, very serious that Donald Trump is doing it, but it's by no means unique. It goes on in this country as well. I mean, I've certainly had groundless lawsuits threatened against me by some political parties.
Have you?
Yes, I have.
Who threatened to sue you?
I'm not going to go into it. It'll probably sue me again. But in that case, the organisation I was working for stood up against it and it went away. But on so many occasions, what happens is that a complaint comes in and the advice from the legal department, who of course are all part of the same system, and the insurers is to settle even although you are innocent, because it will cost you
Too
less.
expensive to fight.
It will be expensive to fight, and of course if you lose you can then have a lot. And we are seeing a comprehensive effort by certain political forces, including Donald Trump, but I would say including certainly GB News and Reform UK in this country, to undermine impartial investigative journalism that seeks to hold everyone to account and to replace it with their own partisan channels of information. And, there are some people who think, well, the mainstream media's had its day. Now we've got the internet. We can do it like that. I think it's very, very bad for our society.